deep into the folds of the realm, the Sultan ordered a fortified castle to be built, an elegant but imposing castle, setting ice on which would fill the hearts of its enemies and aspiring subjugators with intimidation and a feeling of foreboding. Perplexed, the engineers, architects, and the wrights suggested plans after plans after plans, and designs after designs after designs. But none could satisfy the chief engineer of the Sultan. Then, one dark evening, while discussing the machinations of a certain promising plan, the chief engineer was informed of a guest in waiting. Needing a break from the lengthy discussion, the chief engineer granted permission without much thought. It was indeed a curious guest. Cunning, smiling eyes and a tongue that could offer no words. A mute. He did not indulge in much formalities and offered the chief engineer a document. Curious, the chief engineer opened the document and was surprised to see a plan for the proposed castle. An elegant castle built in concentric circles, the Sultan's chambers marked at the very center. However, even more curious were the pages attached detailing lengthy rituals supposedly to be performed simultaneously with the construction of the castle. After much deliberations, the chief engineer agreed to have the documents studied. The engineers approved the plan as achievable. The rituals went to the grand piety. They studied them for months and concluded the words and verses were derived from the Holy Scripture, and the rituals would be effective. And so began the construction. Each stone of the foundation was selected, quarried, and laid with great ritualistic care. Each craftsman was to be treated humanely and paid fairly. Each stone would be laid with enchantment by the pious of verses from Holy Scripture that entailed the absolute power of one true God, the severity of his wrath for transgressors, and the divine protection granted to those who stood firm in their belief. Many, many years passed, and it was only the third generation of the Sultan who came to see the completion of the grand castle. The now Sultan ordered the same enchantments to be inscribed at the arch of each gateway into the castle. The castle was a true beauty to behold, and as the Sultan had ordered, something intimidating enough to shake the hearts of the boldest warriors. When the Sultan finally decided to move his residence permanently to the grand castle, the procession stood at a standstill. No one dared enter the gateway, seemingly overcome with fear and trepidation. The Sultan himself felt apprehension and settled outside the gate for 3 days before the solution presented itself. He approached the main entrance with the grand piety at his tail just before daybreak. All of them kneeled down in submission to the one true God and prayed for him to grant them entrance into this dwelling, for they seek his protection and intend to fortify his word from this fort. Soon, the spell on the entire procession seemed to ease, and they all entered with safety. The castle was indeed elegant and intimidating. However, the spell of protection did not allow life to flourish behind the walls of the castle. Seeds would not germinate, women would not conceive, and so happiness would not blossom. Things changed one day, however. The Sultan's sister arrived after a year, a pious, kind woman, with words gentle as petals of flowers. No one had laid eyes on her face, except for her closest family members. And it was rumored the weight of her existence was so light on this world that she would barely leave footprints where she walked. She listened to the predicament of her brother keenly and promised to pray for him. She prayed 40 days and 40 nights. And on the 40th night, she took with her a seed and planted it at a prominent position of the designated garden lands. She then bent down in prostration and asked one true God for forgiveness for their pride, and then asked to bless them once again with the gift of life. Every day after that, she would dutifully go out and water the seed. People say they saw when it happened, when God looked down up on this trodden path of firm determination of faith between the seed and lady's chambers, when he smiled and blew life into the lady's garden. A cool breeze swept across the castle on a hot, humid night. And one fine morning, 90 days after the seed was planted, a small green plant sprouted from it. The lady named it the Tree of Life, and living up to its name, it spread its essence across the castle garden, and soon it bloomed with lush green grass and beautiful flowers and fruits. The Sultan only saw it fitting that the lady be appointed in charge of the caretaking of the gardens. However, this did not quite sit right with the Sultan's wife.